Okay, this is another episode of the Peace Build, and today we're doing shadow work with my guest here. And the purpose of this is to have a conversation about anything you feel is getting in the way of your sense of circulation, your sense of health, wealth, relationships, anything like that. So what do you feel like is coming up for you as it relates to this?
So I just recently lost my husband. He passed away about a little over 2 months ago.
Okay.
So I have never really experienced loss, grief, trauma in any kind of way. Just for context, he did have cancer. So I was his primary caregiver.
Okay.
So I saw a lot, especially in those last few weeks, months of him declining his health. And I'm attempting to process, understand grief, trauma, just because I've never had to experience it before. I am currently in therapy, grief therapy specifically, and we do a lot of just a lot of conversation. She kind of sets the scene for me to be able to be completely open and honest. And although I feel like it's great, and I do get a lot of, I guess, a sense of healing from it, I'm still left with a lot of questions about grief and my identity and just, life moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot.
Very heavy.
Well, the most important thing to touch on is identity. Because grief is a symptom of loss of love that you've experienced. And what I've seen is that lots of people's identity, though it gives us a sense of security, it's trapped in time. And this time you had with your husband has created an identity out of that. So there might be a joint identity that involves the memories, the sensations, the dreams that you guys had together, and they're all locked up in this one identity. And this, of course, this has to be processed for you to move on to this new identity, which is this moment here and now. And if you give all of your attention to this moment, no matter what you've lost, then you'll see that all of the love that you did lose, it's here in this moment. It just may take a different form. It may come in a different kind of sensation you never experienced, a different social network, a different hobby. But this loss that you have experienced, and it was only 2 months ago, it's very fresh. This is something that would take a while to process. I mean, it depends on how present do you want to be to move the pain through of this grief.
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to make out, how long I want to sit in it because things are ever changing.
Yeah.
For example, a month ago, I felt like I was ready to go back to work. I was ready to have conversations with friends, old friends, just everybody in general. I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about what happened.
Yeah.
And then a piece of me was ready to also move on and move forward. And it could be that, he passed and I had all these different things going on around me, deciding on, do I go back to work? I had to move because I no longer have 2 incomes. Just a lot of little things taking place in life that my therapist called good distractions. And now that I have moved, I have gone back to work and all these other things have come and gone. The dust has settled. I feel like I'm back in this like pit that I was in when he had just passed.
Yeah.
And so I'm attempting to understand grief because I know that it never really goes away. You just learn to grow with it and in it. But I just want to, I guess, get a better grasp on, I guess to your point, how long do I stay in this and feel it? Am I supposed to stay in it and feel it? Just what can I expect? How do I move forward? How do I sit in this? Just a lot of questions.
Yeah. Well, I do want to challenge you there. You said grief is something you always have to live with. It'll always be there. What makes you believe that?
Well, I think part of it is just what I've been told. Like I said, I've never experienced a deep loss this close to me ever in my life. So I don't really know what grief looks like or what to expect. What I've been told is that you will always feel that sense of loss. It never really goes away. You can't outrun it. You don't grow out of it. So I feel like it just stays with you. It kind of taints, that's a terrible word, but it sticks with you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Who told you that?
I feel like I've been hearing it from everywhere. Even my grief therapist. It's like, you can't outrun it. You have to sit in these moments. That, you learn to grow with it. You learn to live with it. So that's kind of been at the forefront of my mind. Like, this is always going to be with me, regardless of how, life moves.
Right. But do you see how this explanation of grief would cause it to stay for the rest of your life?
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not true. Grief can be moved. It can be healed entirely. It's a mental wound, and the mind is a more subtle version of the body. It's really the same substance, just different vibrations of the same thing. And when we look at the body, we can see when there's a wound on the body, even if it's a nasty wound, it heals entirely. And it can heal to the point where it disappears, and then what's left is the purity of the body before it was hurt to begin with. Of course, the memory of receiving that wound is still there, so you don't do it again. But you don't have to live with a wound your whole life. I think this is a huge issue in not only the wellness community, but the spiritual community also. There's this rhetoric that you're always in a state of healing. When are we going to be healed? So we can be on the platform of health, and then we can expand our lives.
I think it's interesting that you say that because that's literally all I've ever heard. Is we're always healing, we're always in this state or process of getting to our next highest being, and then when you get there, you still continue to heal. So that's interesting that you say that.
There's always change, there's transformation, but to say you can never reach a state of health, this for me is insanity, because now we're pushing the goalpost and we never get there. This comes from an analytical mind, the statement that we're always healing. Because what analysis does is it takes the whole and it chops it up into pieces. And when you do that, you'll say, I'll be healed at some time in the future, at some time in the future. And you keep chopping up this sometime. And you never reach it because you can infinitely divide. But if you look at the world through a synthesized perception, that is to say, you take all these pieces and you fuse them into one, because that's the reality of how it works, you can see that, oh, there is a moment where I have reached a state of health. There is a moment when this grief has moved through me because I've processed it. So this is why I said the most important thing to consider is your identity. And if you identify with any form, anything, any person, place, relationship, job title, anything, you have analyzed yourself out of reality. You know? And if you have been doing that for so long, you won't even fathom that there is a state of health that a human being is capable of, because that current identity can't be health, can't be healed. They keep wounding themselves. They keep chopping themselves up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I feel like my mind is blown right now because I've only seen it or heard of it one kind of way. I guess my question to you is, I get even identity, grief, both of them, what are some ways of action to reach wholeness?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize that anything that is changing is not you. Anything you can see is not you. Everything that has taken place on this play of life has changed. That's the name of the game. Before our senses is transformation, everything is changing. But there has been, this whole time, there's been a consistent awareness of this change. There was one point where you were a little girl and now you're a grown woman. But this awareness, this ability to see, is not transformed whatsoever. It stayed the same. And it is because that this has stayed the same that you were even able to perceive the transformation to begin with. So if you recognize that this is your identity, then this is how to become whole. It's the only way to become whole. And that's the first step. And this takes practice through what I do is meditation. And this is, all meditation is you're taking your attention that's normally going this way and you point it this way. That's it. Because what's going on out here is endless illusions. It plays with your mind. It gives you ideas from culture and your parents and your friends and therapists, and they tell you that you can never be healed because they're all putting their attention this way. But if you turn it this way, you'll see that it's not true, because you're already a complete being right now in this moment. And the whole purpose of this conversation is simply to remove the emotional dust out of the way so you can see this moment as it is. That's the only point. And as soon as you see that, you're good. But for some people, it takes a long time.
It sounds very simple.
It's very simple. That's the problem with most people, is it's too simple.
I think that's where my brain goes. Like I'm looking for something else.
Right. You're looking for a thing to find security in. But honing in on one thing is how you lose the full picture. Most of life is empty space. Most of it. Most of your room is empty space. Most of nature is empty space. The only way we're able to have a conversation through sound is because there's empty space as the medium that allows us to exchange sounds. And the more you recognize that you're just consciousness, the more you're able to allow the grief to move through your consciousness. And a property of consciousness is it purifies everything that it touches. So the people who are saying you can't run from it, they're right. You can't. And you're not supposed to. You're supposed to embrace it. And the more you embrace it, the more you recognize that, okay, this bundle of energy is grief, but it's not me. It's not the one who's containing the grief and allowing it to process.
Okay. So, in everyday life, if I'm turning my attention towards myself and allowing space, I guess, for my grief for allowing space for me to process my grief for what it is, eventually it will be healed, is what you're saying?
Yeah. It's like consciousness is like pure water, and the emotional pains we go through, they're like muck in our river. And the more we allow this pure water to flow through that muck, eventually it'll be gone. But the problem is, if you identify with this muck, then it'll never be gone. Because now you're energizing it. So the key is to energize your ability to be aware, and then the side effect of that is a clean mind. Lots of people like to focus so much on the actual issue, the actual obstruction, but you're actually prolonging the process, and you're reopening the wound again. It's like, again, just like the body. If you get a cut, common sense says you clean it, you put a Band-Aid over it, and you just forget about it. And then the body will heal it on its own. So the mind is the same way.
Yeah, that makes sense. So in my day-to-day life, what I could be doing is just focusing on my well-being, my physical body.
That's it.
Okay. It just sounds so simple. I feel like to a certain extent, I have been doing that. And maybe a little bit more in that first month where I told you I was like not focusing on, but I had the good distractions. Like through that, I was kind of taking care of myself a little bit more, I guess. Not energizing the muck. I wasn't focused on the muck. But even through that, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm contradicting myself. Because that makes sense. It makes sense. I was focusing on myself, not energizing the mug. And now I feel like I am energizing the mug. And I feel like I'm back in that spot. But if I just turn my attention, my perspective, my focus.
Yeah. Being in a meditative state, being mindful, this is your maintenance of health. This is what ensures you to be healthy, because now it's consolidating all your energy. And the moment you stop doing that practice, the moment gravity will take over and things will start to unravel back to their original state. It's like your room. If you don't mindfully place everything every day, every moment in your room where you want it to be consciously, then in one moment there's an orange, like I have an orange in my bag because I was rushing. I know that orange isn't supposed to be there and I'm going to move it somewhere else. But if day after day I just keep putting oranges all over my bed and banana peels, and I just don't care where everything, I'm just throwing it anywhere. Now a month later, there's a huge mess. You know, because I have that pattern of unconsciously positioning my stuff. So if you unconsciously position your attention, your whole life is going to unravel. And there's different results we can have based upon where we position our attention. So if you want to be emotionally clear, you have to position your attention on yourself, which is the spot that most people are telling you not to do. They're saying, take this pill, watch this movie, go on this date. It doesn't work.
So on top of meditation, it's important to also have or be mindful of, I guess, a routine, a pattern.
Yeah, just recognize that rhythm is leading you to a certain state of being. And we have rhythms in our thoughts, we have rhythms in our bodies, we have rhythms in our conversation. Nothing can be separate from this state of rhythm. So if you become conscious enough to establish your own rhythm, then you are now engineering your state of being to how you want it. You know, and this doesn't mean that you won't feel pain. Pain will come because that's part of the healing process, but it will mean you don't suffer.
That makes sense. So, I've never meditated a day in my life. What does that look like?
Okay.
Outside of, getting on Google.
Yeah.
Or watching a YouTube video. What's your practice?
So, my practice is not something I'll give you because I've been doing it for a long time. What I will give you is a mantra, which is a sound that can train your mind to become more meditative. And this mantra is focusing on the sound I. Because when we look at the huge web of thoughts that we have, we can see that what is at the center of this is just the sound I. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy. It's all about I. So instead of creating complex descriptions on top of I, if you just focus on I, now you have simplified the structure of the mind, and now you have an opportunity to go beyond it and see where that I actually came from to begin with. And what I teach people is a very simple mantra. You breathe in for 4 seconds or 5 seconds or however is comfortable, and you think I, and you breathe out and you think am. So I breathe in, breathe out, am. And you do that over and over again, as many times as it takes, And eventually you'll see the distance between the sound I and the sound am will get larger and larger. And when that distance is long enough, now you have the opportunity to be at the center. You have the opportunity to pay attention to what is in between those sounds, which is that silence, which is where health is.
Okay. Sorry, I'm taking notes.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I did write some questions down,
Okay.
particularly about identity and grief. We kind of touched on both. I'm gonna see if you've answered any of them.
Okay.
So I have one about identity.
All right.
So how do I begin to build an identity rooted in who I am and not who I was to someone else? I think you kind of talked about it.
Yeah. So the key here is, honoring that you have developed a part of your identity as it relates to this person you were moving in the same rhythm with for a very long time. If you as a life form and another life form moving at the same rhythm, you guys will be very interlocked, because now you're developing the same memories. And lots of people identify with their memory. This is the whole trap. So the steps to developing your own identity outside of that relationship is moving from the present and creating rhythms out of that. And now once you do that, you're creating different memories of you doing things on your own. And the more you do that, the more you'll say, okay, I can organize my own life, because really it's about organization. So if you develop a certain pattern of behavior that you know is good for your well-being just unto yourself, then you see, now I can stabilize at this point in my life. But to do that, it would require you to self-reflect and see what is it that I like out of life? What am I looking for? What do I value? How did I
think
get
that's
here?
where I'm currently at. Before, I think my entire life I have identified identity as, your job title, who the relationships that you have, that kind of thing. After experiencing what I have with my husband, I no longer think that that's true. And so now I'm attempting to understand what my identity is outside of being my job, outside of being a wife, a caregiver, all these other things that I have been the last 2.5 years. But I also think I'm in a place right now where I don't really care for my job. I'm thinking about what I have now, outside of being a wife, which is just my job.
Yeah.
And I don't care for my job.
Yeah.
Still attempting to understand what my purpose is. And I don't think my hobbies or what I find to be fun would encompass what my identity is. So I'm attempting to just how do you, find your identity?
Well, if we look at you as a plant, if we just use our imagination and say you have grown from something, right? And when we look out into nature, we can see that all plants have grown from the ground. Even trees that are massive, they've grown from the ground at some point. So you have to retrace your steps all the way back to the ground, which may seem like a huge task. But it's not.
Deep breath.
It can happen instantly, actually, because you are already in tune with that ground right now, otherwise you wouldn't exist. What is keeping the trees alive right now is because they're in touch with the ground. Trees that have been alive for hundreds of years, who have memories of who knows what, they're alive because they're in the ground. So taking your attention away from your leaves and your fruit and your tree stump and bring it all the way back to the ground, this is how you find what it is you really want to do in the world and how you want to be. And it's important to know that it's not a social construct. It's not something that someone could tell you. It's not something that I could tell you. It is something that unfolds on its own. Like acorns, they unfold into oak trees. It's not up to us. It's not a human construct. So you as a human being, beyond being a wife, beyond being a professional, you have a natural rhythm. Again, it goes back to that unfolds just from you. And this will come on its own when you just take all the attention you're putting out here, you just put it this way. That's it. It's a very advanced system. It's hands-free. So it's not complicated. It's more simple than what we're educated to believe. That's why it's like, that's it. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly how I'm feeling right now. But then I also think about my life, like as soon as we get off of this call, back to reality. What am I implementing, when I wake up tomorrow? How am I going to be intentional about finding my rhythm and turning my attention back on me? I think that's the hard part.
Yeah.
And then there is a sense of like, okay, am I doing this right? I think that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. The main thing you can do is pay attention to one thing at a time. This is the way to be meditative in the world in action. So if you're driving, you just drive. You know where you're going. Maybe you're 10 miles away. You don't really have to think about anything else but driving the car. When you're in the shower, you're just in the shower. You're feeling the water. You're recognizing how it's cleaning your body. That's it. When you're talking to someone, you're there, totally present. And you'll find that, again, from this basis of the ground, a natural, unique personality will come out of that. But if you find yourself dodging yourself, like if you're sitting and anxiety comes and you grab for your phone or you grab a book or a podcast, then you'll never find it, because now you're suppressing what's supposed to come from within you. So there's a certain level of discipline that comes with this, and recognizing that you are a creator instead of a consumer.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about all the things that I have picked up to kind of distract myself. When emotions rise, it's easy to attempt to ignore, avoid. I do think in order to do this, I have to cut a lot of things out.
It's a huge sacrifice. And I only know that because I did it myself. I've changed my diet. I've changed the music I listen to. I've changed certain thought patterns in my mind. I've changed the people I talk with, the clothes that I wear, just everything. I've changed it to organize myself around this focus. It's a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
But the thing to understand about a sacrifice is you give up something of lesser value and you get more in the end. And what you get is what we're all looking for, which is emotional stability and clarity, connection.
Do you think there's a one size fits all when it comes to cutting things out? Like you mentioned, diet, music, clothes.
No. There are as many disciplines as there are human beings on earth. We have to figure those out for ourselves. But there is a one size fits all of where this all begins, which is the ground, which is consciousness. But in terms of what you should eat for your body's well-being, I don't know. I have no idea. I know that I eat raw vegan food, and this has helped me for a long time. I don't know if I'll do that for the rest of my life. Yours could be meat and vegetables. I don't know. You could live in a different place. I mean, there's so many factors. And this is where trusting yourself comes in, and experimenting and really using your body as your sensitivity as a reference to determine, okay, I feel more alive when I do this, and I feel more scattered when I do this. And what I did, I made a list of all these things that made me feel scattered, and then all the things that made me feel more alive. And I just kept moving to things that make me feel more alive. And a lot of those things that made me feel scattered were things that I used to like, things that used to bring me pleasure. But pleasure is not the highest state to be in. The highest state to be in is bliss, clarity. So, yeah, you could just write about how your day went and say, in this moment I felt scattered, in this moment I felt closer to death. And then you could describe what that was. And then this moment I felt more alive. And you just do more of that.
That actually has been something that has come up for me in therapy. Trusting myself. Trusting that I can make good decisions for myself. And I think that's why, at least in my brain, I like to think of myself as very white and black. Like, give me the answers, tell me what to do. I don't really live in the middle. But I think that way because the lack of trust that I have in myself.
Yeah, it's real. This black and white way of thinking is just a template. It's safe. It seems to be safe until it doesn't work.
Right.
Like, nothing is black and white. Everything is a mix of gray. The only thing that is black is the night sky. When we look up at the sky. So learning to trust, being in between, that's how you begin to trust yourself. Letting things breathe in between moments. Letting your mind wander when there's nothing to do.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it is very simple.
Yeah, it's simple, but you have to rebel against lots of conditioning. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. Or lots of things that you thought were truth and are not.
Yep.
I think you've answered all of my questions. I feel like now, look, after talking to you, my questions are kind of in the same way. Like they all are rooted in the same thing.
That's good. That means clarity is coming.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. That's it?
I guess so. I don't have anything else for you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think, my brain just does this and I need to take a step back.
Yeah. And last thing I will say is this takes a lot of practice to do it. And one way you can expedite this practice is spending time with something that is already in that state that you want to be in. And it seems like you want to move at a slower, more peaceful pace. And the life forms that are already doing that, they're outside. The trees, the bugs, the wind, the water. So developing a relationship with this billion-year-old system of behavior, this will accelerate your process. And this is why most people find this hard, because they're not submitting, they're not in relationship with the right kinds of forces. But if you give your all to a peaceful force, if you give your all to a river, then you'll be astonished of how peaceful you can become, and the thoughts you'll have, and the level of genius you'll have. So I would suggest that. It's worked for me really well.
I will definitely start there.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Yeah,
The
I appreciate.
conversation.
Yeah, likewise, and I appreciate you for coming to me with such a heavy thing, because this is not an easy thing to deal with.
Yeah. Definitely want to incorporate some of the things we talked about. It is extremely heavy and every day looks different. So I think starting with myself, taking it back a little bit, giving myself space to feel will at least point me in the right direction.
Yep. Yeah, and one thing I've noticed about you is you seem to be very conscientious, very responsible, very accountable. So what you specifically may come across in this process of just sitting and waiting for things to unfold is, I'm not doing enough. I need to be more hands-on. So you exercising a sense of surrender and recognizing that there is a power beyond you that is in control of this process, that moves at its own time. That'd be big also.
Very hard to do. I also feel the guilt, when I feel like I'm not doing enough, or I should be somewhere because someone is telling me I should be there. So trying not to get lost in those feelings too, because they do come up.
Yeah. And when that comes up, that's the time for you to forgive yourself for whatever you did. If you blame yourself for anything and you hold on to this blame, then this is going to take away your sense of fluidity and your sense of pleasure. And pleasure is a part of healing. So if you don't allow yourself to be pleased with yourself, then you'll never be at a state of health. So it's okay to give yourself that.
Yeah. Be nice to myself.
Yeah. Have compassion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts, but focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything will come up as you're ready for it.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, so as we wrap up here, I do want to say, because this is a complex, heavy situation in your life, I'm not just going to drop you off and be like, all right, good luck. If you want help, if you want to shoot me an email, if you have a question, then just feel free.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure.
Cool.
I'm taking a break from my phone. So
yeah,
I'm not on socials. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
But I will definitely email you.
Cool.
Do you do like weekly sessions, meet like once a month?
So if you want to book an actual session, there's a place to book an appointment. But if you just have a quick question, then you can shoot me an email. I'll send you my website.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a wonderful day.
You too.
Okay. Another episode done here at the Peace Build. This will probably be the last recorded consult that I do. Grief, shame, guilt, these have been the main things that people have been coming to me with. And I feel it's partly because I myself have recently moved through these emotions on my own. It took a lot of work. And I've uncovered my own methods, and all that I do is tell people about what I did. And because the creation is the same, the basic design of creation is the same across the whole creation, I'm able to give people what worked here and give it to them, and it works out. So I'm grateful for the suffering that I've went through, because it allows me to help other people. So if you enjoyed this talk, then I appreciate you being here, giving me your attention. If you are interested in scheduling a free discovery call with me just to see if I'm a real person after all this, if you still don't think I'm real, we can book an appointment. It'll be in the description below and in my bio. If you want to jump into a full consult, you can book an appointment through the link in my bio in the description. And that's all I got. Peace be with you.